Bring it back.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Ostriv. So, this time we're going to be doing more of a playthrough series. So if you haven't seen my previous video on this game, I did sort of a review. I'd already got like a small town established. I took a bit of a tour of the different buildings and the functions, and looked at some of the potential of the game. But and I'll put a link to that video in the description below if you want to check out the review. But in this series we are going to be starting our village from scratch and having a look at building it up into a sort of large city. So first things first, we want to build a forestry for wood production, as the tutorial recommends up here in the top corner. So I'm going to rotate this building. You can use R and T to rotate the buildings, and then I'm going to place it on the edge of my camp near the woods here. So I'll stick it into 2x mode since these things take quite a while. So the villagers are now making use of the wooden planks to carry all the supplies over to the building, and we're starting construction on the forestry workshop over here. Carrying all the wood over, making use of the carts. So what do you start off with? We start off with a little well in our village, which is slowly filling up. We get a campfire and some benches. Most of our women are currently unemployed because we've not got anything like haystacks or anything yet currently built. There's a camp centre where our mayor works, and there's also a camp storage where we've got all our nails, our iron and our thatch for the various buildings. So let's look at building other little things. So a hay dryer, we can place this over, where should we place this? We can place this heading over near to the woods on this side. We can place one of them, so that will give a woman a job to work on that hay dryer. She'll start to, oh, it's not a season, it's not in season yet. March is obviously too early in March 1721. But once the hay dryer gets going, we shall then also need a hay barrack in which we can use to store the hay. So for those of you who don't know how this game works, my favourite thing about this game is the road network. So as you'll see at the moment, there are no roads, nothing's been built, nothing's been trampled. But as people are starting to work more and more on this building, and as people start to travel, they start to wear roads into the ground over time. So you'll notice, since there's quite a lot of people walking in and out this entrance, it's starting to wear a little bit of a worn out patch on the grass there, look. And as people start to travel to and from the camp more and more, we should start to see some roads form, particularly around the tents where the people are living as well. So we've got them set up. So after that we also start to need to think about housing. So currently all our families, our peasants, are living in tents, which is fine. Now it's March. Well, it's probably pretty cold in March in, I think this is set in Ukraine. It's probably pretty cold, but we're going to try and get them into houses so they can have a bit more of a comfortable summer and are certainly ready for the upcoming winter. With that in mind, I shall think about where we're going to place these houses. So if we look at our network so far, we're sort of set up on the edge of this little river here. We've got quite a nice large plain over this way in which we can develop, and I also want to sort of cross the river and sort of be in and around the river. I think will be pretty cool as well. So first things first, I think we'll have this house facing this way. So I'm going to rotate it. I want to try and nestle it as close into the trees as we can, and I think we'll go there. So once people have finished working on the forestry workshop, they should start to set work on the house, and that will be pretty good. So let's go back into more fast forward mode to try and get this process moving along a little bit quicker. Currently no men looking for jobs, so that means currently all our workers are assigned to different tasks. So the forestry workshop is finished. So if you don't know, people aren't naturally assigned to buildings, you have to assign them yourselves or open a vacancy. So we shall set one worker to starting to collect wood, and he'll do wood, firewood and logs as well. So he'll keep doing that on his own, but if we start to use up wood quicker than we're producing it, I can assign another worker and the process will speed up. So other things we need to think about are a thatchery is normally a big problem, because as soon as you start to collect any start to build any large amount of housing, you'll soon find that you start to run out of room, start to run out of thatch. So we want to build a thatchery. I'm just looking where it's going to be best to place this. I'll have it like there. I don't want our little village to look too pre-planned, since it is, you know, this is supposed to be an 18th century building game. I think things don't develop in perfectly neat lines. It's not, you know, a modern American blocks or that sort of thing. It's sort of just a random. It should be organic, should be natural. So I'm going to place the thatchery here. So there should be a gap between the thatchery and the fence for people to get through, and then we can build another house further back if we want to. But it's still sort of creating a bit of a chaotic and random layout, which is what I want. So people can't find clay for the house. I had forgotten about that. So simple solution, we just need to place a clay pit. So again, we'll have the entrance so it faces the right way. Get it nice and close up to the forestry. And now look, everyone's grabbing the carts and charging over to the clay pit. And if you haven't seen earlier, you can see the road is slowly starting to be worn in here. Starting to get a bit of a road developing here as everyone keeps coming to and from the town centre. So everyone is now taking clay over to the workshop, to the house construction, sorry. And we're also running out of wood. And we haven't got a worker assigned to our forestry job either. So, and given that we're running out of wood, if you look, we are actually completely out of wood. Then we want to assign 2 workers to start to chop up wood into you know, usable quantities for the building work. Because this is why the thatchery can't be constructed, because there's no wood available. We've got a good amount of nails and a reasonable amount of thatch, but we just need to keep building the supplies up. So we're starting to get going. We're going to have it on fast forward for a bit as we come to the end of the month. We're about to pass into April. Hopefully things start to get a little bit warmer for our peasants. If you haven't seen it, I do like the constructions in this game. I think it looks nice as the houses start to come up. They come into sort of quite a natural manner. They don't just pop out of the ground. And there we go. Someone's little house and their little garden is finished. So the family has moved in. And in theory, they should then make use of carts to move one of these. It's this family here, so they should move all the supplies out of the tent and into their house. But they should have to make use of a cart, and the father's probably assigned on a different job. So he may be assigned to working in the wood house. And so until he finishes that task, he can't move. There we go. Dragging all his worldly belongings into his new home. Excellent. And then he's going to return the cart to the village cart park. Since camp cart parking is accessible for everyone, so everyone has access to a cart. See, the thatchery is starting to come together already. We might as well look at placing another house, since we have nearly finished the thatchery. No, it doesn't want to snap like that. I think we'll place this sort of more this side, so we've got a bit of a setback layout as we're heading towards the edge of the woods and heading down to the river. Another reason why I placed the thatchery close to the river is because the thatchery collects reeds for making thatch, and reeds are these reeds down here by the river. So putting him close to the river makes it easier for him to access the reeds, and increases efficiency. So the thatchery is nearly finished. Just sticking on the roof trusses at the moment. There we go. Excellent. See, the roads are really starting to wear into the camp now, particularly from everyone's tents, look, where they've been walking all the time. We're probably slowly starting to wear one into the clay pit, where people are going to collect clay. Clay pits do have limited supply, but you really don't use that much clay in construction, so given that they start off with 10,000, they're pretty much unlimited. The thatchery, as with the forestry shop, requires you to assign a worker, so I'm going to assign a worker, or hire a worker for the thatchery. Probably, yeah, there we go, we've got a worker working there now. See, our thatch is down to 9, so we've not got that much thatch available left, and so the worker here should start to produce more. As, you know, we've still got to build another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 houses yet to go to house all of our families and get them out of tents. And we want to do that before winter. So they're laying the sort of the foundations and the floor for the house here. And as we can see already, our little village is starting to take shape, and I do think it looks pretty good, particularly based on the river like this. through the trees. Ah, beautiful game this, I'm a big fan. So, supplies still being carried down here. What else have we got to build? So we've got a well already built, so we don't need another one of them. We've got our village house. One thing, once we've got the houses built, we might want to think about is a boatyard and a fishing dock. We've got access to the river, so giving a fishing dock will allow people to fish and give a source of food, since people only come with a limited amount of flour and potatoes already available, so it's something that needs to be built at some point to give people access to an alternative supply of food so they don't starve to death, because they will do if you don't, if you continue to not feed them. But then also, point of note, when you build a fishing dock, you have to think ahead, because is what I did. I built the fishing dock only to realise that you need a boatyard to produce fishing boats for the fishing dock. Easy mistake to make, so you need to build both. And then you need a market stall if you want to sell food to your citizens. So you get quite complex supply chains in this game. Okay, quite a few open vacancies at the moment. Workers are still working there, so that's no construction. That's coming towards a close. So let's look at placing the next house. We'll go for a similar sort of layout, staggering it back slightly towards the woods, like so. Then the next houses can probably come over this side of the village a little bit more. You don't want to expend entirely down this way, particularly as this house is in. Although I do want to bridge over to this island, this little sort of spit of land here, use it for something, because I think it would be nice to be based over and around the river rather than just on the large plains down here. So that's that house finished. So that should be another family out of camp, which it is. I think there was a tent here, was there not? Which is now gone. Oh yeah, you can see the sort of existing road structure that was there, which has now disappeared. Yeah. So this family has moved in here. Each individual family has sort of a wealth attributed to it, and this is part by their employment of the male and the women, and sort of probably where they live and sort of resources they have available. So I think all these families are basically pretty poor, but the people who got the first house are not unsurprisingly the richest. And I think wealth dictates the sort of things they can buy at the market when you want to trade and that sort of thing, and probably is something that's going to be introduced further going forwards. We've also at some point we would like to build a town hall, but that's a building that we can't afford at the moment, or isn't such a top priority. Something that will come about later. Particularly once all the tents are cleared away, we can then probably place the town hall quite near to the centre of our village. So that's flying up nicely. We'll place a second house probably down here, facing inwards. I like to make sure the gates are facing the right way, makes it nice. Our factory should still be producing thatch. What's our thatch count? 11.6, pretty good. Wood's looking good, 48, we've got enough wood at the moment. Probably let that build up a little bit more, and then I'll probably take one of the workers out of the woodyard, so we can continue building to get these houses up a little bit quicker. It can be a little bit of a slow start to this game, particularly as you've got so many families to try and house. So really your main thing is you just always seem to be building houses at the start, but unfortunately it's just one of the things you need to do to get going. So I think we'll have a house set up just out there. So this house is nearly finished, so as soon as this one goes up they can then start working on this one. There we go. The third house finished. Hopefully one of these people should be moving out. It says, oh, there we go, that family there is now moving out, moving their possessions into their new little home. One's got a fire going. Okay, quite like that little staggered house. And you see already they're starting to wear paths to and from the front doors of where they go. In time, these paths where the tents used to be will slowly fade away, because if they don't get used, people are no longer accessing the tents. Oh, this house is absolutely flying up, going ever so quickly. Excellent, good to see. So you get population grows in a couple of ways. One, you should see some people. So here they've got a son who's 3 years old, but he does only age. People only age at real time. So before he becomes a useful member of the sort of town or village, it's going to be many years, and so waiting for that is quite a long process. But you're going to get a sort of a natural turnover, so the births and deaths are going to be a sort of a similar sort of rate. But the main way is through immigration. So people coming to live in your village when there's spare houses available. So currently there are no spare houses because we haven't even been able to house our normal citizens, because they're currently just still living in tents. So until we get this built, we can't have any immigrants. But once we do, there are a couple sort of prerequisite requirements that people want first. So water supply, which we've got in the form of the well in the centre of the village. There's no market, which there isn't because we currently don't have any food or anything to stick on the market. And there's no spare housing, which obviously we know because we've still got another 5 people yet to house. But there are jobs available, because if you see here, we've got 4 open vacancies that aren't being filled, and these are largely probably in the builders. Yeah, the labourers and the workers, because we've got people already assigned to the thatchery and the woodcutting shop. And when they're filled and they're spare houses, we'll then start to get migrants moving into the village. And then that will give you access to more men, so you can attribute more people to things like the forestry and the thatcher, so you'll produce resources quickly, so you can build more houses, and then you can have multiple building teams and have multiple construction projects going on at the same time. Also, you've got to remember that this is still a very early alpha version of the game, and it's alpha 1 build 3 I believe we're currently on. So we've not got the full range of buildings yet. We've got most of them, but we haven't got anything like education. There's not yet been introduced into the game. We've got health, and we've got religion, all of which are still to come into the game. So there'll be a lot more buildings yet to build, and sort of a lot more game options available. Education is going to add sort of a different perspective, because if you pick a worker, this guy. Oops, I've lost him. There's someone else. This woman, whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but she's only got 1 out of 5 for education. She's not very educated, and currently we have no way of improving that. And at the moment it doesn't do anything. Education has no bearing on the game, but that's something that's going to be introduced at a later date. So I'm just going to continue to build these houses here in a little bit of a row. This will be the last one in this row, and we'll probably settle another 2 down here, or 3 maybe, just to completely get everyone out of tents. Then once we've got these houses set up, we're going to start to look at establishing our little fishing sort of reserve down here at the bottom. So everyone's charging around getting that set up. Has our supply still got a good amount of thatch? Wood supply's gone down a little bit, but not looking too bad. Tons of clay. A reasonable amount of nails, although nails are starting to get a little bit lower. We may need to have a look at building a blacksmith. Let's have a look at that. So we currently have a limited amount of iron, but we have, I believe, 10 iron available. Yes, we have 10 iron stored in our camp storage. And that will make a lot of nails, because nails use very few iron. So we need to look for a nice little spot to build our blacksmith. Now, since really I'm more keen to put sort of the peasantry on the outskirts of the village and around here, and then I want to have sort of the core buildings in the centre of the village, I'm going to be looking to place this blacksmith somewhere around here. I'm just looking where would be the best spot to do it. That tent is obviously going to disappear, but the cart park is not. Just adjust that slightly to come forward. We're going to go there. So again, as I said earlier, things aren't going to be in perfect lines, aren't going to be perfectly neat, although we are getting a little bit neat with our houses down here, probably a little too neat for what I want. I want it to look like it's an organic growing village. Our road networks have sort of gone a little bit all over the place, because there's been a bit of our sporadic building, and because people obviously have been walking back and forth to their tents, which are then no longer in use. But this will slowly fade away to a more regular road network as we start to expand out and out from our town centre a little bit more. A blacksmith obviously will also require a worker to work there as before, so it's going to take another man from the building trade. So we are starting to run out of people, but if we run out of nails, then we'll be really screwed, because we won't have anything available to hammer our houses together with, and that will be a problem. So behind the blacksmith, we're also probably going to start looking at building another house. Let's have a look where we've got access to. Push it nice and up into the woods. We should have a little house out there. We've still got 3 people left to locate. 1, 2, 3. These people are now getting relatively wealthy. They've got 20 wealth, although nothing to really compare what that wealth is equivalent to. People still have a reasonable amount of potatoes for the moment. Potatoes and flour, yeah, quite a bit of potatoes and flour. Even the people in tent should hopefully still have, yeah, plenty of potatoes. And it's July, so we're starting to, well, we're in the height summer now really, but as we're heading towards the end of July, we need to start hurrying up to get these houses sorted and get people in and building. In the meantime, since I've not really paid any attention to it, the hay dryer has been busy working away, and we're starting to actually get a reasonable store of hay down here. So hay, the primary use will be as feed for animals. We've got a cow shed building here. Look, we can build. I'm not going to build that quite at the moment, but that's something we're going to want to do going forwards. I know you need cows for food, for beef, but they can also be used to pull ploughs for the farm, to manage wheat and things like that. Obviously, if we get ploughs and you want to get beef from them, you also need the slaughterhouse. So that's one thing this game is sort of, I know the developers trying to do, is create these quite long work chains to make things quite dynamic. And I think that's something that seems to be developing. You're going to have to build quite a few buildings to get to an end product, rather than just building sort of one multi-purpose building that does everything. So the smithy is slowly getting there. I think they're running out of wood for it. Is that the problem? Oh no, there's a good supply of wood. What's taking it so long? Oh, there we go. Look, it's starting to come up quickly now. I think all the builders have just been resting rather than working. There we go. Smithy is up. So let's assign a worker there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And just find someone to hire. That'll be 4 people who are just assigned to just doing base jobs. So that only leaves 5 people available to actually do any of the working. Oh no, 4 people because we've got a mayor. So that uses up another slot. And then people have also need to rest, move their families around when their houses get built and that sort of thing. So it doesn't really leave that many people available for working. There's the 4 people. They're workers. So they're knocking this house up pretty quickly. Let's have a look where the next one's going to go. Going to be there. Little camp starting to come together. Quite liking it. We've got a little blacksmith. I think this is our first 2-story building, which looks quite cool. Oh, there's a man working on the anvil there in the back. It's pretty nice. So we've got most of our houses done. We've got 3 people left to build, although this house is nearly finished, and we've placed our second house. I think I'm going to draw this episode to a close here. It's the end of the first episode. I'll be back shortly with the second episode, where we're going to finish off the rest of our houses before getting into too much into winter, and then we're going to start looking at building a fishery and a boat workshop to take advantage of fishing on the river to keep our people well fed. Hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, please think about like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel out. Thanks guys, and I'll see you on the next one.